All right. Hello, everyone. How you guys doing today? I hope you've had a happy St. Patrick's Day weekend. Yeah, it was my birthday weekend this weekend, so I had a terrific weekend and just came from kind of a birthday dinner. I wish my birthday was St. Patrick's Day. It's actually the day before. That'd be cool. I like the number 17 a little bit more than the number 16. But I did turn a pretty age this year, 37. I love 3 and I love 7, so can't beat that. So anyway, let me take this banner off and double check with the camera. It should be a fun topic today. I definitely wasn't planning on talking about this, but then I saw an article and it piqued my interest. So I hope you guys are doing well. Yes, I got to remember the camera's over there. Mike is here. I'm going to be playing a few numbers, like 4 short numbers on violin. I think everything's okay. I had a little bit of a crooked bridge mishap that I had to fix like under 5 minutes before the stream. So hopefully everything's sounding in tune. But I need to remember to turn the gain down through the microphone because it looked like it was clipping some. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, let me go ahead and check the chat and see. We'll talk about the article and Nobuo Uematsu first, and then these themes I'm going to play. They're under 2 minutes each, so it's not going to be a performance stream. It's just going to have some violin samples, and I haven't like prepared too much on the playing, so it's not going to be like a performance stream like I would have prepared a lot for it. So anyway. Samuel Proctor says, you share the same birthday as my mom. That's cool. We just celebrated last night. Good. Yeah. Yeah. March is a good birthday month. Yeah. Happy St. Patrick's Day too today. So hopefully audio is coming on fine. Audio. Okay. My wonderful prof says audio sounds good and looking clear and beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it should be fun. Let's see who is in. So we've got Nathaniel. We've got some comments on, I think, the remake. I haven't seen a whole playthrough of the remake. I know it looks good and the gameplay looks good, but I have no idea what direction they took as far as the soundtrack. Maybe they kept some of the soundtrack or most of the soundtrack of the previous. So anything I say regarding the music for Final Fantasy is the original. So Final Fantasy number 7 as the original. Oh, let me take off my. Oh yes, happy birthday to my favorite YouTuber. Well, thank you. You're my favorite YouTuber too. All right, good. And of course, to talk, to celebrate my birthday, is we're talking about the thing I know best, which is music. So let's go ahead and see what else you guys are, or who else is here. We've got Andreas Hernandez. Thank you so much. There's a birthday girl in the stream. She better be wearing green or she might get pinched. I do have a green shirt, but it's the only green shirt I have, and it's really warm. And it's been warm outside. So this, and I was like, well, you're wearing black. That's really good. Actually, this is a very thin long sleeve shirt, and it's very comfortable. So yeah, so I'll be wearing black. I know, concert black. Let's just keep it like that, concert black. So anyway, let's see who else is in. Brian Gilmartin, welcome. And you say this is gonna be good. Stunning Brave Megatron. I hope so, by the way. I like talking about this kind of stuff. Stunning Brave Megatron is also wishing me Soundwave a happy birthday. Soundengraver, hope your birthday has been a blast so far. It's been nice. I'm very chill. I don't need, fancy parties or anything. I like being with people I'm closest to, and that happened. Mm-hmm. And then also just like as you get older, like birthdays come and go. So I'm enjoying though, like I have some personal goals for the year 37. So hopefully I keep on it and see how it goes. Verilian, Aragmar Verilian is wishing us a happy St. Patrick's Day. Samuel Proctor, I said hello to. Lynn Green, welcome. Have a good stream. Oh, you'll catch it later in the week. Yeah. And then Big Al presents happy birthday +1. I don't even know what that means. Oh, you mean plus 1 day. Okay. Yeah. Um, all right. Uh, Megatron says, my human form is wearing a Superman shirt. I can't be pinched because blue and yellow equal green. Hey, that I never thought of it that way. I don't think I have a blue and yellow shirt, but that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Hello, Adiga Outlaw. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, so before we talk amongst ourselves in the chat, let's I think we'll get right to the article. I have it up thanks to my wonderful prof because this is his computer and I just need to know how it works. But it's gonna be a very short article. And I just have my 2 cents on it as well. We're talking about Nobuo Uematsu, who is pretty much the king, the icon of all game composers. He is definitely most known for his work in Final Fantasy in the series. I think he went up to 9 or 10. I can't remember where more or where newer people were coming in, but basically all the famous Final Fantasy tunes are from his awesome imagination and genius. And I had heard that he wasn't classically trained, and yet he has just such a wonderful ear for so much music, so much good music. So we'll get into the specifics later, but let's go ahead and share this article. I saw it a couple nights ago. I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting. So let's see if it works. If the share screen works. There we go. All right, this is a completely different computer, so we'll see how it looks. All right, see if this works. Share. So it's a little, I don't want. Oh, you know what? The other thing too is I forgot there's a lot of advertisements, so it might look clunky. So I'll try to get through the article as fast as I can. Let's see how that looks. Okay, yeah, you can see that. It's not as big as my computer, so we'll see how it goes. But let's see. Hopefully, we can get through the advertising pretty well. So, I can also probably make it bigger if I know how to use a computer like this. Let's see if I can. Hopefully, I don't mess it up in real time. Oh, that's too much. And of course, it settles on the ad instead of the words. Whatever. Let's see. That's silly. Okay, I'm not going to bother with that. All right. So, veteran Final Fantasy composer Nobuo Uematsu believes settling for Hollywood-style scores means game music cannot develop further, and I think he is right. Let's move along down. So the Ellie Gold, I think is her name, or Gold, probably Gold. I thought we were doing pretty well, she says. And there's Aerith. Video game music never ceases to amaze me. Whether I'm listening to Nero's battle theme, Devil Trigger from Devil May Cry 5, or immersing myself in the beautiful Peruvian-inspired soundscape of Ultros, I did listen to that one just before the stream. The creativity and breadth on offer, I should have read this out loud before I showed this to you, is astounding and something to celebrate. Well, at least that's what I thought. It turns out that Nobuo Uematsu, the veteran Final Fantasy composer, thinks we can do better and that Hollywood may be holding us back. In an extended interview with Newspicks, translated by Automaton, because when you listen to his interviews, he speaks Japanese, so you'll have to see a translation of some kind. So in an extended interview with Newspicks, Uematsu explains why he thinks the current landscape of game music can do better. Quote, I think people need to have more freedom, he suggests, arguing that the issue may be because directors and producers are, quote, satisfied with movie soundtracks, that the producers are, quote, satisfied with movie soundtrack-like game music in games. Sorry, the font is a little small for me. Uematsu even went as far as to say that if this Hollywood style carries on, then, quote, game music cannot develop further. And I believe he's absolutely right. So the writer, she says, while I agree that you can always improve, all the game soundtracks I've listened to recently have been outstanding. There's the retro synthwave of Sea of Stars. I had heard that one. The epic scores accompanying Final Fantasy XVI's thrilling fight scenes, and Pacific Drive's incredible radio soundtrack, which will almost definitely make its way into my Spotify wrapped at the end of the year. But apparently, it can get better. Quote, game music will become more interesting if composers consider the question, what is something only I can do? This is Uematsu saying this. I'm going to say that again. He says, game music will become more interesting if composers consider the question, what is something only I can do? And use their own knowledge and experience to be truly creative. Uematsu also warned against using AI to compose soundtracks. He described how the role of an outstanding score is to convey empathy between composer and listener. Quote, reaching deep down inside yourself to find aspects unique to you and then expressing them. This is, and the quote ends, this isn't something that can or should be substituted for AI. And he's absolutely right. And he's a wonderful composer, so I think it's fine that he says that. That being said, the writer says, it looks like Uematsu won't be working on too many more creative projects, as his last full soundtrack was for the Fantasian, probably Fantasia, but Asian in 2021. Previously, Uematsu said that he doesn't have the physical or mental strength to compose the entire game soundtracks anymore. So that means he can't be the only composer of the game. He can contribute a soundtrack or two, but not for the whole game. Quote, I think I'd rather use the time I have left to work on other projects that I love. Unquote. Fans will still be able to enjoy a new theme. Fans will still be able to enjoy a new theme Uematsu composed. Let me see if I can see this better. Fans will still be able to enjoy a new theme Uematsu composed for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, No Promises to Keep, which is apparently based on rearrangements of his favorite music from the original Final Fantasy VII. And that's it. Okay. So it was a short enough article. Let me go ahead and... So that is that. Yeah, based. Uematsu, Brian Gilmartin says based. Yeah, he said all the right things. So it was a really brief article. It'd be interesting if he had any further thoughts, but basically the sentiment was that he didn't feel it was right that, producers of games, just like maybe producers of Hollywood films, believe that, oh, we should kind of have that traditional or that formulaic Hollywood score for, as you hear in movies, as for games. Now, here's the thing. Something like Ultros. So this Ellie lady who wrote the article, she was describing these Peruvian soundscapes for Ultros. So I decided, I'm going to listen to this. And I'm going to say this. It is a beautiful soundtrack. There's no question. And it is outstanding. There's also no question. But even if you're scrolling through the different tracks, there's one thing that always remains the same, except for the final boss music or the bad guys or whatever like that. But everything else, as far as environments and places and stuff like that, the music is always set to a drone first. And then you've got these luscious chords, and then you've got these beautiful electronic soundscapes. And sometimes you have like a motif from time to time, just kind of reaching out and pulling back, and, that like growing and receding and stuff like that. But it's not the function of a melody. It is not a melody. It's melodic, but it's not a melody as was traditionally a melody. And I feel fine. I feel fine in general to be very strict about what is a melody and what is just simply melodic, what is simply just motivic. So this Ultra soundtrack, if you check it out, it is gorgeous. There's no denying, and it's really well mixed, and it gives you a lot of good atmosphere on how the game should be. You can already see, even if you've never played the game, you can see how it's going to look. So props to the composer of Ultros for exploring different soundscapes. But there was one particular track I was listening to where I thought a melody was coming, and then it was just 4 bars repeated 4 times. It sounded like a cello. It was like a blend of a cello and another instrument, and it was not reaching out. And I really, it's almost as if the composer, is able to give music some life, but without a melody, it has very limited potential. It's almost, and I'm going to use a little bit of an abstract example, but I was thinking about this while listening to this track. It's like if you had the power to give someone the ability to walk, but you don't, you're limiting that person's ability and potential. Now, it's one thing if you didn't have that power to give the person the ability to walk, and that's one thing. But a melody, and especially a good melody over a beautiful string of chords and percussion and all of that, the melody is the musical signature of that piece. Because without it, it just can look like any other print or any other font or any other person's handwriting. There's a specific signature with melody. And so as beautiful as the piece Ultros was, or the soundtrack for the game Ultros, I think that's what it's called, it it was lovely all the way through without variance. It was beauty without variance. And you do need variance in any work of art, but you definitely need variance with something audible like music. So the writer's not wrong. She did say, but I thought these scores were outstanding. I didn't listen to the other scores. And they could be, but they're missing very key elements, very key ingredients that Hollywood producers and Hollywood filmmakers in general are currently missing. Or maybe they've been missing for a good decade or so. They don't know what really makes something distinctly that story. I talked about it a couple streams ago, where, or maybe even last week, where you have to make the film score be distinct. You have to make it very specific to that story, that place, that idea. And if you don't, then it's all going to sound the same. Not just sound the same from another soundtrack, but sound the same throughout the whole 2 hours of soundtrack. So Uematsu, who is a master of themes, he is iconic in that area, and I'm going to show you some examples in a minute. He understands this. He understands, well, Hollywood isn't really working with something like variants, something like themes. And even some people, I was listening, or I was reading rather, the comments section for the Ultra soundtrack, and some people were saying, oh, this is just beautiful. The themes are just so gorgeous. They're set in all the right places. I'm like, there are no themes. It's just environment. It's just atmosphere. So you might, well, there was one melodic line that did not function like a melody. And it kind of just tapered, just went off into the ether. And people confuse that idea, even a melodic idea, but definitely more atmospheric ideas. They confuse that kind of thing with theme, and it's not a theme. A theme is a specific melody signifying a person, place, or idea. So that's one example. And so I'll talk a little bit too. I'll get into the chat as well, because I think this is going to be more of a back and forth between you guys and me. But one sec, let me grab some water. Let's get into the chat, and then we'll talk about maybe how Hollywood sounds samey. I know samey is not a word, but I feel like it should be a word. It's kind of, I use it more like a disparaging thing. So let's see. Yep, it is true. My Mac user is totally stymied by a PC. I'm sure there's a way to put it between 100 and 200%. I didn't feel like doing that live. All right. Oh, hello, NXCW. Good to see you. Brian says, I can't say I'm a big fan of Hollywood style scoring for video game music either. Yeah, it's, well, and actually, let's just talk about that based on your comment. There's this new style. It's actually a genre now. I didn't even know this until I was in a rabbit hole, whether Wikipedia or something like that, and I saw the term epic music. Now, I've seen epic music. I've seen epic music for sleep and relaxation. I've seen it for video game or movie covers that, I mean, even something like The Last Jedi. You guys probably know who I'm talking about, but there's this YouTuber who pretty much takes every famous film soundtrack or game soundtrack, and then he makes it like epic. And it's actually a style. It's actually a genre where you take something and make it epic sounding. And it's I would say artistically speaking, that's kind of detrimental because one example, and I'm going to play the different heroines, their themes. Celise is first. She has a beautiful theme. It's very simple. The chord structure is absolutely gorgeous, and 3 times I heard 3 different adaptations that sounded beautiful, well produced, well mixed, beautiful, but they were not following the chord progression that was the original track. And the original track is absolutely operatic. It's gorgeous. It works like an aria. So an aria is a song that a main character sings in an opera, usually the soprano or the tenor. Usually it's the soloist, but it can be a duet, like a soprano, tenor, soprano, baritone, mezzo soprano, baritone, something like that. The aria is the soloist's time to shine. And Salisa's theme, it's a very simple one. It doesn't have a very complex or very long melody. You'll hear it on the violin, but it's gorgeous. And all the adaptations were removing the chordal structure of her aria, like that classic Western opera sounding piece of music, because they wanted it to sound more epic. Now, there's nothing wrong with sounding epic, but epic, I will say, sounds attractive, but it's also very generic. Like, I love vanilla ice cream, but I don't want to see I don't want to see 31 flavors of ice cream and then have 19 of those flavors a type of vanilla. I do want to see variety. Vanilla's good. I love vanilla. It's great. But it's tasty. The ice cream is tasty. It's attractive. The music is attractive, but it sounds the same. There's no difference between this composer here and that composer there because they're using all the same chords. And this is what Hollywood has been slipping into. Like, they've been falling into this trap for, gosh, a long time. Ever since they started doing away with melodies. And you can thank Hans Zimmer for that. And he did melodies. I said that before. He's done melodies. He knows how to do it. But I feel like there's either people don't know how to make melodies anymore, or they just refuse. They don't think that's like, I just need atmosphere and soundscapes and stuff. All right. So yeah, so that's the Hollywood style. It's very vanilla. Now, there I could probably do a separate video on this, but there are chords that are crazy attractive. So let's say you got the minor 1, and then you've got like the flat 6, flat 7, minor 1. You'll hear that all the time in epic music. It's very attractive. I use it myself, but I also put melody in there too. So that's one example of a chord progression that is one chord progression that people use time and time again. So, but I mean, even Uematsu has used it, but he's used it in like the style of punk rock or funk or traditional organ, like church music, or all sorts of styles. Yeah, he's kind of a rock artist himself. I haven't seen him really play, but he does play live, or he did. So anyway, let's continue on with the chat. Aha, Brian has an aha moment. He says, come to think of it, gaming has been mimicking a lot of elements from Hollywood storytelling in general, probably because these producers are using games as a stepping stone to working in Hollywood. Now if that's true, that is sad. I mean, RJ from the Fourth Age talks about how people work in the comic space to get into the movies. It's like, why don't you just start at the movies? Why are you trying to work in a place you don't care about to get into the movies? Just go to the movies. Just get your foot in the door in that institution. It's kind of like this kind of preemptive planning, like, well, I don't really care about games. I really care about movies. I don't really like video games. I don't play video games myself. I just want it to be epic so it can be a movie so I can work on that movie that the game was based on. It's like, why don't you just study how to make really good films, be inspired, learn how to write a story, get a team of people to share your passion in that project and then make your own film. So that would be sad if that's true. Final Fantasy, because we are playing Final Fantasy themes today, said you have some cinematic elements. You can have cinematic elements in your game, but you can only go so far with the game's story if you just pretend to be a movie. Looking at you, David Cage. Is that how you pronounce his name? And everyone at NetherRealm Studios. Now, actually, I can't remember who it was. It was either Nathaniel or Spidey Rules commenting on one of my shorts that I posted over the week, which was uh, it was not really misunderstanding, but basically I was talking about the importance of melodic themes to cue the listener in or the viewer in on a different character, like a specific character or idea or something like that. And I think it was Spidey Rules who was saying, so you shouldn't have uh, background music just for the sake of background music. Now, I will say, I'll say what I said on that comment. Background music has its role. So, for instance, I used the example in my comment that if you've got a task force trying to take down a gunman in hiding, you can absolutely, use background music for that. You don't need a melody for that bit of action because action in and of itself does not need a theme. It does not need a melody. The task force in question, the task force would need a melody. So maybe you can use the melody for the task force while they're trying to take down a gunman, or maybe for something else. Maybe you don't have to. Maybe you don't have to in that bit of action, just in case the melody gets a little too tiring, But something like Agents of Shield, that task force, that special operation force, they had that force had its own theme, and sometimes it was in the action, sometimes it was not. It didn't have to be there all the time. So background music is fine, but it's when you think you can use background music for everything. So if you refuse to be very specific to a character, then you're not going to understand what that character really signifies in the plot without that audible cue. Moving along down, Final Fantasy also says, unfortunately, Hideo Kojima is guilty of this too. I know the Metal Gear series has always had cinematic elements. This falls under this problem. MG number 4 and number 5, MGS number 4 and 5. I don't really know those games, but I can just based on what you described, I hear more industrial percussion and minor chords all the time, maybe some chorus, maybe. Andrea says, a YouTuber named Melanie Max says the problem with modern games is that they are more like interactive movies now. It's just pretty cinematic cutscenes while the gameplay isn't much or meh. It's just meh. That's a problem because games are not movies. I'm not against elaborate cutscenes. I think that's important, but like you can't be half and half. That's my personal preference. Like if I have a game I'm playing where it's half story, half gameplay, I would get a little frustrated. Like because gameplay, especially if it's really great gameplay, you're kind of in the zone. And sometimes you don't even know how much time passes. But if there was a lot of cutscenes and stuff, that definitely would be that interruption of the flow would be a problem. Oh well. All right. Aw. Thanks. Thank you, my love, for the super chat. I appreciate that. My love is wonderful. He gave me a great birthday. Private Eye, welcome. Good to see you. Most modern games will want to be like The Last of Us and didn't care about how fun the game is playing. Yeah, it's like if I was a game developer, I would really want to make sure my game was really fun to play. And as I've said before, this has been the theme of my stream for the last month or so. You got to make art repeatable. And so if I was a game developer, I would want people to come back to my game every year, Professor Geek plays the Arkham series at least once every couple of years. if not every year. I think he plays the first one during Christmas time because it's in the winter. So you got to make your art repeatable. And these people behind these projects, it sounds like they're just not even into the projects. It's like, what are you doing making games if you don't play games? It's so simple. Amy is with us. Good to see you. Hi. All right. Now, before we get into more of the chat, let me just go ahead and before I've had some tennis elbow, so let me just kind of stretch for a second and play if my violin is okay. The bridge, I found the bridge to be slightly crooked overnight, so we'll see how it goes. I had to retune. Let me at least rosin my bow. And again, this isn't a performance stream. It's more, what is it? It's a sample of these 4 incredibly beautiful melodies that Uematsu composed. So we'll see how that goes. Ghost Planet is also right about the Danny Elfman. He's done some beautiful themes too. He's very good with motives as well. But the thing is too, he's a rock artist. So yeah, he would definitely, I think he's a vocalist too in Oingo Boingo. Blah, blah, Oingo Boingo. Man, that's embarrassing. I can't even say it. Oingo Boingo. Yes, there it is. He would have to understand things like melody in a band like that. So there we go. I remember he was among 7 film composers. What was the journal? Was it Variety? I can't remember. This was an interview I saw a long time ago. It was 7 film composers, and he was one of them. And some of these interviewers for Variety, I've noticed these types of interviews, they just don't know how to ask the right questions. And one of these questions was, so guys, what do you do on your free time? I mean, what kind of music do you listen to? Do you listen to other film music? And I remember Danny Elfman said F no, but he said the word actually. It was instantaneous, like F no. I don't listen to film score. I do film score. Why would I listen to film score? And that's perfect. I know soundtracks of Birdman would have a hard time with that, but I think being a movie film, like a film score musician and composer, that can wear you out just a little bit, because again, film is so different from rock music and stuff, or any kind of music really. So let's see how well my violin sounds. In fact, I might have to tune it for a second. Oh, and actually, I'll just go ahead. I might have to turn the gain down one sec. Let me put myself on that and reach over. All right. Hopefully I don't. So I'm going to be lower in volume here. Hopefully you can still hear me. So 4 themes. Yeah, let me see if that works. And I have my mute on because they're very romantic themes too. Let me see if I don't, clip the mic at all. And then let's see here. Actually, let me turn this off. I think my violin got a little. I think that's going to be the best I can give it. All right, so let's just do a couple themes. Actually, one sec. Then I'll. I couldn't warm up today, so you're definitely getting a violin playing with tennis elbow a little bit, and didn't warm up today, so we'll see how that goes. All right, so this is the first theme I wanted to do was out of Final Fantasy VI, and this is Solice's theme, and she's a tragic character. She's got some issues based on her past, and but she has an incredibly feminine take, a characteristic, and her role as singing this aria in this opera during the game is a beautiful indication of that. So let me warm up for a second. If that sounds okay, let me know, because my mic is, if it's a little on the low side, I might prefer low if that's okay. Then yeah. So let me know if the violin sounds okay, or if I need to move a little bit. I want you to see the whole violin though. I'm just gonna warm up until you guys give me confirmation. Brian, does it sound better, like when I'm closer to the mic? Yeah. This is just a demonstration anyway. It's not really a performance. All right, that's good. Okay, well, here is I had tortilla soup for my birthday dinner, and so I was like, why am I so thirsty? It's like probably like really high sodium. All right, so here's Salisa's theme. Very simple melody, but really nice and sad too. So very just the way the chords work with that melody, I forgot to say, I am just doing the simple melody. There's no overarching chords that I prepared with, but that's okay. It's just a very nice simple line going up and then descending to the lowest note and then reaching to that highest E flat. It's in the key of E flat, and it's got a range. It's the range is about an octave, which is pretty nice. I think it could have been a little bit more expansive because it was for the opera, but again, that's just that's a preference. But it's really good, like especially with the some of the chords are just so good that are underneath that melody, and even with like the chord, the bit that bit programmed instrument, that 8-bit program singing that was available at the time, only available at the time at the making of Final Fantasy 6 or 3. It still works. It's still like, oh, it's just so gut wrenching. So yeah. So one of the Spidey Rule says one of the many iconic parts of the game. Yeah, that opera is really nice. I mean, it's to convey Celise was made to be pretty much a lethal weapon. She doesn't know love, and then she starts warming up to Locke, and then she is betrayed by Kefka, and everyone doesn't really turn on her, but she feels alone because she was part of the Emperor's army for forever. And then the whole world goes down, and then her grandfather passes away, and then she wants to commit suicide. Then she realizes, no, I have to fight for what's left of this world. So it's a really good, it's a beautiful theme. Like if you've heard different adaptations of it or just the original, it's really good. All right. So the next one is one of my favorites, and it's Lena's theme from Final Fantasy V. and it's so sweet. And again, I can only do the melody, but there are some underlying things like a really beautiful bass. Like I can't even believe back in the 90s they could have programmed a bass so good. The bass of that bass of Terranigma is so good. So Lena has this beautiful. Well, I'll play it first, but uh, it's to depict her character a lot too. So all right. So a couple things. So a little bit more, I would say, longer in structure than Salisa's theme. It actually has two melodies. Da, 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 da. And then it extends to a B theme. So that was the A melody, and then it extends to a B melody. So the theme has A and B. And that B melody actually is the overworld, or the overworld theme, where you can see the map and traveling along the map. And so it's an extension. It's used as an extension for the melody, her melody. So it's really pretty. Uh, it conveys her innocence. She of the four, well, there are five characters eventually, but she of the four displays complete innocence, youth. She loves nature. She loves animals. She kind of has a foolhardy, sweet ignorance about her. She'll put herself through danger to save an animal or something like that. So anyway, that is Lena's theme. She's also, her name is Reina, or yeah, it could be Reina because Reina, well, sounds like in Romanji, I think. Uh, Lena in the English language. So that's Lena's theme. Now, the next theme is that I really think has the best composition, even if it's not my complete favorite. It's so beautiful, and the composition is like stellar, A plus. Again, I can't do it like a piano. I can't play the rolling chords and the arpeggiation. I can only do the melody. I'll try to do it a little bit longer, but this is Tifa's theme, and Tifa's theme is so well composed. It's so good. So Tifa from Final Fantasy VII. Oops. Can you guys hear me at all? Hello? All right. Actually, let me check my phone. My phone's in. Maybe my phone went down. One sec. That's good that you can hear me, but let me see. Oh, okay. There I am. Whoa. And actually the screen went green too. That was kind of unusual. So anyway, I was playing Tifa's theme. That's okay. I started a little rocky, so maybe second time is the charm. So here's Tifa's theme, take 2. It continues after that. It was so super pretty. Tifa, Andrea says everyone's favorite waifu. Yeah, so she's skilled in martial arts. She's a fighter pretty much from the first battle you have in the game, but she is the most empathetic. Like she definitely wants to make sure Cloud is doing okay, and you see her grow. She has her own arc in the game and all of that. So that's Tifa's theme. And then lastly is Aerith's theme. And so with Tifa's theme, it's very sentimental, especially with the arpeggiated chords. You know, if you were to hear this on a piano, for instance, it's very sentimental where it goes like that, and it would be used in like ballads and sentimental pop songs. The chord progression for all of that, and I have frozen again. And that so it's meant to, like, Tifa's there to comfort you, even though she's crazy lethal with her martial arts abilities. She's there to make sure you're feeling okay. That things are going to be fine in the end, and that you're here today. You know, that's kind of her message. And now Aerith's is different. It has a little bit of optimism, but there's an ethereal aspect about it, and Uematsu conveys that with open chords, and you're gonna hear that. I'll try to play a little higher on the violin too. Hey, David Stewart, good to see you. Makes sense as disc 3 has a whole bit with her caring for an invalid Cloud. Yes, yeah. My prof hasn't seen Final Fantasy VII yet, and I do need to play it, so he doesn't know the whole story. But yeah, good to see you, man. So this is Aerith's theme. I feel like I should actually do it without the mute. We'll see. We'll see if the gain is okay. Yeah, I'll do it without the mute. I see it freeze a little bit, so I have no idea if you could hear that at all. I'm freezing a lot today. I don't think StreamYard likes my violin. I need if I ever do actual violin playing again for live streams, um, I'm gonna actually try that. Sorry, guys, you're gonna have to hear that again. I want to try it with my mute. You can see my little black mute there. I think that's gonna sound a little sweeter. Um, we'll see how that sounds. Actually, you know what? Just for a little bit better acoustics, I know StreamYard it doesn't matter, but I'm gonna actually open the bedroom door because it's almost kind of getting hot. Oh, it came through beautifully. Good. All right. I guess I didn't have to hear that again. um. So I'm glad it came out beautifully. If only the image has been frozen, that's fine. Okay, that's good. I also had like a memory slip there too, but again, I didn't really prepare. I just did it as an example. One day, I would love to play these pieces at length with different octave, different ranges, with that, like as a cover thing. But that would be in the works like five years from now. I don't know. But yeah, these themes though, like Uematsu, actually, I think I'll be done playing. Let me boost up my gain a little bit. We'll just talk music real quick. Let's see. All right. Sorry, I always hum. Professor Geeka, he knows that about me now. I'll hum arbitrarily, not arbitrarily. That's not the right word, but I hum different random places in the house. So you say Big Al Percent says play Freebird. I have no idea what that means. So Uematsu, you know, I'm not going to call him. Okay, so he's very different. If you had to, okay, this is probably a bad comparison, but the way he works with music, especially with melody and themes and thematic ideas for all the games he's worked on, all the projects he's worked on, he's more of a rocker than a classically trained orchestral person. But he knows music and understands all the nuances, all the elements that goes into a good piece of music, the same way John Williams understands it. Now, John Williams is a whole different animal. John Williams has taken from Stravinsky, he's taken from Beethoven, he's taken from Richard Strauss, he's taken from so many classical and neoclassical and 20th century greats, so John Williams is classically trained, but the way Uematsu works in themes with games, especially games with epic stories like Final Fantasy 6 or 4 or whatever, it's the same way. But now there's this trajectory people are taking it, especially with electronic music. And I love electronic music. I keep saying that because I compose it myself. They take it where like, okay, if it sounds good, that's good enough. Now, that's leagues ahead of any of the academics saying, well, we gotta work with dissonance only, and we gotta work with ugly sounds, and we gotta work with everyday sounds, and we've got to work with the mundane, and we gotta put the mundane into the art, and the art. The sentiment was art is life, life is art. So, I use the opening a fridge door is gonna be so artistic. No. You've got to have nuance. You've got to. I personally think art is separate from the everyday. You can experience it and improve on your everyday, but this whole sentiment, man, I'm freezing a lot, man. Oh well. This whole sentiment is that it's fine if it sounds good. If it has enough atmosphere and textures and ambience, there's nothing wrong with ambient music. I like ambient music. I like it a lot, actually. It helps me with my writing. But if you keep putting that in film and in games, ambient music, as good as it is, as well done as it is, it doesn't convey a story like the traditional way of making opera. Do you mind? Actually, I'm gonna keep it off camera because the freezing is definitely pretty bad. I'm kind of tempted to just switch my Wi-Fi's, but as long as the audio is fine, that's good. I probably will do a different means, a Wi-Fi next time. Maybe, yeah. Anyway, I won't troubleshoot, but anyway, let's continue on with the chat. Uh, Sam Proctor says, "Professor Geek, so you married a Disney princess?" Let's see. If I was a Disney princess, probably Belle. Belle would be the princess of choice because I like books and uh, I think she's the best. Well, they all have great personalities. I mean, she's not a princess, but my favorite Disney character is Mulan. Um, so Big Al presents. Why did you mention Leonard Skinnard? Uh, is that did I say something? Go ahead and confirm. Um, are people asking stuff? Okay, anyway, let's continue. Private Eye says, I thought the birthday girl was supposed to receive gifts, not give them. Well, I mean, the hobbits, on their birthdays they gave gifts. Speaking of which, yesterday, if you hadn't seen it, I posted a commentary video, like a double feature of my Alpha Core review from the Rippaverse, and then also um, uh, adjacent to that, like right after that, was my commentary on the dark side of marketing stories online. So that is for you, and I posted that on my birthday because I won't be doing commentary like I used to. It's just so much work, and I just don't get the views. And I do need to compose a lot more than uh, edit and make YouTube videos as much as I like doing it. Um, I've got a lot of music to in the queue. I have so many tracks that just need to get finished. And I'm very much looking forward to it. Also, just something on melody, guys. I'm pretty much haranguing society. You got to put melodies in your music, and it's true. You have to. But you don't have to put melodies all throughout your music. So if you have a 5-minute track that's it's got some atmosphere and ambience and stuff like that, you can start your, like, an example would start your music with a good atmospheric intro, then introduce the melody, then have like right at 2/3 of the track, you could drop the melody and have just it be something subtle, remove some voices, and then have a recapitulation of the same melody. Um, it's so melody isn't a signifier that has to be present all throughout your music. Now, if you want to be Mozart, if you want to be Beethoven, and then work with some digression of melody, that's fine too. Not all my tracks have a it will have a definitive melody, but sometimes actually one track I'm working on is so far in the structure, it's not going to be really introduced until like the last third of the track. Yeah. So melody is important. It as Uematsu said in the article, it's what distinguishes you from every other artist. Like once you have a melody, that's your signature for that track at least. Like no one can steal a chord progression. Like no one can take you to court over a bass line. I think there was a really weird it was a Christian rapper too. I like in my 20s I listened to him. I forgot his name, but there was a Christian rap artist. Totally forgot his name. Maybe you'll know who I'm talking about, but he was trying to take Katy Perry to court over this ostinato she had on one of her tracks that sounded somewhat similar to his ostinato, and I knew the track he was talking about because I listened to his music like long time ago, and it was like, okay, I get it. Like it's the same melodic gesture, but it's in a different range. It's using a different, like hers was in the bass, his was in the treble, like way high, and his had like a little gliss next to every note. She didn't have it, and pretty much people were saying, even some musicologists were like, "Oh yeah, he has a case." I'm like, "He has no case." But if someone took your melody and then put it in a movie and made millions of dollars on it, yeah, you'd have a case. I'm like, "No, I made this first. Someone took my music." But no one can steal a bass line of yours, like, or no one can steal a chord progression. So that's another important thing about melody is like I'm not talking about in the legal sense, but it's yours. Like, it's unique to you. That's what's so important. Actually, yes, David Stewart, says a really important thing. Melody equals memory. Like, okay, I've said it before. Hopefully I don't freeze. Let's see if I'm doing okay. I can't remember, guys, I've listened to it twice now. I've listened to the Dune score twice, and I could sort of hear the chord progression in my head, how he kinda moves up and down a little bit. I can't sing it for the life of me. Everyone knows Star Wars, everyone knows Indiana Jones, everyone knows Pirates of the Caribbean, so that's Hans Zimmer. Um, well, maybe not everyone knows Pirates of the Caribbean, but maybe Lion King. So, that's the other thing too, is if you can a melody is something you can sing. One thing I love about Tifa's theme, actually Lena's theme, Tifa's theme, and Aerith's theme is that it expands beyond the octave and it has so much range. So a more professional singer could adapt words to it and sing it. But it's very easy to remember. I was like remembering it while doing dishes or going out for a walk. So easy to remember, and it's so good. Oh, let's see. David Stewart says Dune score is so bad. Yeah, I agree. Uh, and actually, I think I mentioned this before. If you go to the soundtrack, like go on YouTube and look up Dune Part Two score by Hans Zimmer, just start from the first timestamp and then just listen for like 20 seconds, and then jump to minute 17, and then minute 38, and then minute like 90 or whatever. There's a little degree of variance, but it's not much. It's not much. Big Al Presents says Leonard Skinner is a band that plays. Oh, Freebird. Ask the hubby. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Actually, my husband has his musical taste is awesome. I have really enjoyed Whitesnake as a band. Um, I like Van Halen a lot. I just love Whitesnake. Every time I'm like, who's this? I really like it. And then he's like, "Who do you think?" I'm like, "It's Whitesnake, isn't it?" I'm like, "Yeah." Or he's like that. He does listen to Leonard Skinner. He's Van Halen, Billy Idol. We love Icehouse. I I'm I love Icehouse. Yeah, they can have the same signature, but it's so good. Uh, David Stewart says that's why game music sounds more complete than a film score. Each theme piece in and of itself is a thing in of itself, rather than tied to visual cues. I would say yes. Even the games that don't require a lot of story, like for instance, I mean, I wouldn't listen to it on repeat, but the Mario games, all very interesting melodies, and it has no real plot besides jumping on Koopas and Goombas and going to a castle to save the princess. Like the levels, those are such catchy. Mario has had a crazy great legacy with Mario music. I had you guys saw the Mario movie. I didn't. Was the soundtrack okay? I never even thought about listening to the soundtrack. I just can't get past Seth Rogen's DK. I just I know. I'm a my mother-in-law, Prof's mom. So she made me a nice birthday dinner today, and she got on us for like, you guys are so negative. You guys can't enjoy anything. It's not true, but we there's a lot of stuff that our family really likes that that Prof and I don't like. I was talking with my dad because it was obviously birthday weekend, trying to keep up with him, and we were talking about all sorts of teaching stuff and music, and because he's big on music. And then I had to go, and then he's like, "Oh, wait, before you go, had you seen the Dune movies?" And I'm like, "Ah, Dad, that's a whole other conversation." And because he knows I have some strong opinions just about current movies in general. But I do need to read the Dune books again. Well, I've read the first one twice. I need to read the series. I'll do that within the next year or so. But I won't watch the movie. I can't. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. And Brian has mentioned it before. I don't think I could sit in theaters with such a loud soundtrack. That was Hans Zimmer soundtrack. I have a hard time even just listening to it on YouTube, like on a low setting. I don't think I could hear it with the speakers in the theater for what it was like 2 hours and 40 minutes or whatever. And there's no variance. That's the thing. Okay, I'm gonna go on a little rant. When I was in the academic sphere, so graduate and undergraduate, but especially undergraduate, my professors, um, they they were very much about, like, you gotta work with experimentation all the time. You gotta work with things that are uncomfortable that you might not really, recognize. Now, their sentiments were noble. Like, actually, one professor of mine, he's like, "You're not gonna understand music as you should if you, until you start exploring it." And with that, I did neo-contemporary, neoclassical. I think classicism. I can't even say it. Whatever. That's not even a music term. Neoclassical. Things that were experimental that were really off-putting. He's like, just try it. You need to understand the music world better with experimentation. Now, I would say he is right for the most part, because I did not know I loved electronic music, and I didn't know I was going to compose electronic music had I not gone to school. So for that, I thank my professors. But there was also this sentiment that is like, it doesn't have to sound pleasant, or if it's long, if it's like a 26-minute long string quartet piece and the string quartet's doing the same thing for all 26 minutes, it's okay. It's like, and then that's when I realized, I was like, that's where the lack of variance is. Like, if you do something like 12-tone music where all the pitches have equal value, or post serialism where all musical cues have equal value, everything sounds random. There's no variance. And it's the same with Hans Zimmer. I wish he would go again. I think I think he was a part of Tangerine Dream at one point. I can't remember. I feel like I'm linking the two. But Tangerine Dream, like, go back to Tangerine Dream. Go back to Vangelis, okay? Like, all the electronic musicians that knew how to keep melody intact, and yeah, they would go on for several minutes with the same stuff, but it was still good. Still good. Amy L says Mulan is particularly strange. It's a particularly strange rendition of her name. She was not Chinese, and Chinese back then wouldn't sound like this. Well, I totally know Mulan is. It's kind of like Pocahontas, okay? Like, we know that didn't happen. Like, the Disney movie Pocahontas is not what happened in real life, but the mythos behind it. It's so Pocahontas is a gorgeous movie, and some of the most gorgeous soundtracks for Disney. Just Around the River Bend is like one of my favorite Disney songs ever. The lyrics are great. And I know that's not Pocahontas. So many people for years complained that's not what actually happened. And I'm not saying you're complaining, Amy. And you're not probably having the same sentiment, but like, I think people, like, when the new Mulan movie came out, a lot of people were looking like, is this even real? Was this even Chinese and stuff? And even as a fourth grader, because it came out, I think, when I was in fourth grade, even as a fourth grader, um, I knew that wasn't really China. Like, I knew that it was more of it was like a fantastical version of China. No, I'm not. Hopefully, that didn't sound like I was complaining about your comment, but I love the story. Well, that's the thing, is like, it's not even so much like the mythos. I love that story. Like, just ranting a second on Disney villains. Most Disney villains were really terrifying, but I've said this before. There's something particularly terrifying about Shan Yu from that original 90s movie. I wasn't scared of Jafar like I was scared of Shan Yu as a little kid. I felt like Shan Yu, like, I had this expectation as a kid that Shan Yu could behead someone in a Disney film. I was almost expecting, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna see someone get stabbed, see someone get impaled by a sword in a Disney film. That was Shan Yu for me. Like, he was brutal, and I could tell, like, in real life he would not be A, a, you wouldn't want to reckon with him, let's say. Let's continue on. Gladiator theme. Yep, Samuel Proctor's mentioning Caribbean uh, and Gladiator theme. Yeah, the Kingdom Hearts. Prof, was it the second game where they meet Jack Sparrow? I freaking love what they had for the Kingdom Hearts version, and every time they battled the skeletons and Moonlight and stuff, it was the ghosts. I I hummed along. It was so good. It's like it's good. It's good. Now the thing is, it also has to be well orchestrated. The instrumentation has to be right because that theme really only works with spot on percussion. Because I've seen renditions of like violin players just play the theme and it's not the same. You have to have the right instruments, but it's still a good theme, even if it was just a violin playing. Andrea says Hans Zimmer has music that goes, blah. Oh, I froze right when my cheeks blew. That's so funny. Yeah, I was like that dang. And that like especially since Blade Runner 2049, I'm not saying that's not a good film. I saw it only once. I'd have to watch it again to like understand it better. But I do remember just the swelling of sound pit against like waves of an ocean and stuff, and it was so much. So much. Whereas Ravel used the orchestra to depict the ocean, and he did it very, very well. Maurice Ravel, check him out. That's my education for today. French composers, my favorite are Satie, Debussy, and Ravel. Final Fantasy fan says, I thought my family calls me negative. Yeah. Well, like I have relatives, they know I have strong opinions about something, and then they understand it. Yeah. Metallica Ghost Plan says, enters San. I don't know exactly what you're saying. You just mentioned Metallica though. Okay, so as far as metal is concerned, I'll be honest. I really love instrumental metal, and I really only listen. I'm probably shooting myself in the foot for saying this, but like my favorite metal is actually the covers of like game soundtracks on YouTube. There are a few of them that are pretty good. Andrea says, I'll accept Chris Pratt as Mario, but Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong was the weirdest choice. Yeah, my simian hero, man. I'm picky. Like, he has to look a certain way, but whatever. And that's the thing is he looks like we have Mario Kart. We were playing Mario Kart last night, and DK looks legit. Like, he looks like the original. I mean, apart from a few changes, but they kept to the original design pretty well. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2, my professor says. Kingdom Hearts 2, that was great. Every time you went to that world, I was happy because we were going to listen to that music. Yeah. All right. It looks like I went to the end of the chat. What time is it? 7:21. Oh, I started at 6, so okay. We're making the 90-minute mark. Who didn't get chills when Maleficent said, "Now you shall face me, O prince, and all the powers of hell." Yeah, actually, dude, I've talked about that before. So man, yeah. Maleficent's theme is crazy eerie. Like it is Rite of Spring levels of eerie. If you listen to this, it's like you see the green light, you see and this is from memory. I remember this as a kid. I don't think I've seen this as an adult. But I remember when she lures Aurora, Princess Aurora, to what Maleficent assumed to be her death, but it was of course the sleep, the cursed sleep. But as she's so Aurora is mesmerized. She's hypnotized, rather. That's what I meant to say. Hypnotized. She follows this, orb of green light, and it is the eeriest music ever. It's like this demented oboe. It's like kind of. I remember seeing Patriot Games with James Horner, and the oh gosh, what's the militant Irish group that were terrorists? I think they were terrorists in the 90s or whatever. Um, but he used the penny whistle for them, but really demented, like shrilling the penny whistle, making it bend the pitch in between notes. It was great. I was like, that's perfect. No, that's stereotypical. No, that's perfect. uh, and so Maleficent's theme was this crazy sounding, very soft, and the notes of the oboe bends. Now, if you don't know what an oboe sounds like, it's a reed instrument that is actually really hard to produce. It's hard to produce a really good sound. You have to be an absolute professional to produce a really nice sounding oboe sound. And usually, if you don't, it sounds very reedy and nasally and kind of open in a bad way. But a professional orchestra player who's an oboist can really sweeten that tone. And so you take this kind of reedy, very thin sounding instrument already, and then you just kind of crunch it and change the pitch. And that was Maleficent's cue, at least. I can't remember if it was a theme or not, but at least it was her gesture, musical gesture, her little motive, and it was creepy, just creepy. Anyway, all right. Brian says, join the club. I love some game metal covers, especially Daniel. Is it Tidewell's or Tidwell's cover of Stage One from Battletoads and Double Dragon? Battletoads. Yeah, that was Dave Wise, wasn't it? I never played the game. Wonder if we have it. Prof, we might have Battletoads actually on Retrobox. That's interesting. Anyway. So I think that's everything. So thanks for listening to the themes. Hopefully the sound didn't freeze. I'm freezing a lot today. I think I know why too. You know what? I forgot to turn off. Yeah, I think I forgot to turn off some devices. Anyway, that's everything. So theme is important. So just as a recap, we're not leaving yet. But just kind of wrapping it up. Uematsu, he is sensible. He is knowledgeable. He knows how music works, how it should work for video games. And listen to go YouTube epic music or something. Like that's a genre now. I didn't even know that was a genre or a style. Like according to Wikipedia, it's a type of action adventurous music, and it has its place. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it's you're not as a composer needing to tell a story. I'm not talking about composing your own original music for your music. I'm not talking about if you like working with ambient music or electronic music, that's your own music that you're not trying to tell a story, you're just writing good music, that's one thing. But when you're telling a story or aiding the telling of a story, you've got to be really specific. You can't just do luscious chords. And I think it was if you guys this channel 8-bit music theory, he's a great channel. He posts very highly comprehensive theory videos on gaming soundtracks, and he did this one, and I'm not even interested in the game, but I just wanted to hear what he had to say. I think it was it's called Dark Souls. I don't know anything about that franchise, and I think it was the latest game, or maybe one of the first games. I can't remember, but basically all of that soundtrack. I mean, all of that soundtrack was minor chords. Out of his whole analysis, it wasn't the whole soundtrack, but his whole analysis, I maybe heard one remote major chord. And he was saying that it's all minor chords because you're supposed to feel the desperation and depravity of the world you're in with Dark Souls, and that would, and maybe the composer intended this, but that would make me go insane to listen to nothing but straight minor chords. There was no mode mixture from what I could hear. There was no changing to the Picardy third. There was no changing to a major chord from time to time. It was just all bleak minor chords, and I'm like, I don't think I could play that game unless I was playing it on mute. So anyway, Oh, we do have Battletoads. Good. That's cool. Because that was Dave Wise, and so it's interesting. It's like their nemesis is like a sexy vampire lady, which I thought it's an interesting choice. Yeah, so I think she's like a motorcycle vampire lady. Yeah. Anyway, man. Well, today was a little bit of a freezy day, but that's okay. At least the audio went through. Okay. So, without further ado, I definitely need to get Super Collider out. Um, I'll have at least one video out this week. It was just a busy week, work, birthday, everything like that. So something musical to be played, published this coming week. I'm troubleshooting Super Collider, and there's these things I want to achieve, and it's just not working. I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll switch to another music topic while I troubleshoot this. I have one more Super Collider video I can do. Anyway, that's on the dock. Streaming will be normal this time. I'll probably be on a different Wi-Fi, so I won't freeze so much. That will be normal. I'm so glad you guys could check out this stream and listen to some beautiful melodies. Nathaniel says Dark Souls is a very bleak game. The only time the music plays is when you're in boss battles and a few areas. Everything else is silent. Okay. That's actually better. That's a lot more palatable. I want to be able to listen to just minor chords for 50 hours of gameplay. Okay, that's it. Okay. I'm actually fine with that. I would still, man, you need some major chords, even in a desperate thing that is Dark Souls. I mean, I'm not saying Dark Souls is a bad soundtrack. I don't know too much about it, but if I was given the task of composing something like that, there would have to be some major chords. And why? Because then when you hear the major chords and then you go back to the bleak minor chords, it's going to sound, the juxtaposition is going to make the minor chords sound even more devastating. If you just hear minor chords like straight up and nothing else, then you become desensitized. So cool. Everything else is silent. Good to know. All right, so let's end it there. I'm gonna go on my date and celebrate the last of my birthday weekend with my prof, my husband. So thank you guys so much for watching and listening. And until I see you next, keep producing and preserving that good art you love, and I will catch you later.